Welcome to One Rake at a Time. I'm your host, Art Jones, and today we have a very, very special program for you that will be running all month, and it's taking you out to our main cleanup site that we're doing now. We're in Cedar Cove now, and hopefully the audience can see behind me the water bubbling up there. If I can get my camera guy to focus on that, you can see there's a little spot of crystal clear blue water there bubbling up, and right next to it's another one, and there's a whole series of spring vents out here that we have uncovered by hand that were there was no water flowing here before this project started. Now we've got fresh clear water coming into Cedar Cove, and you can see that the clear water is battling the Lyngbya infested water and the water that's murky. And you can see there's some floating Lyngbya on the surface there. When we started this project here, this was solid packed Lyngbya in here. It was just everywhere. It had covered the seawalls. You can see some of the seawall there has got some Lyngbya that floated up here a couple days ago. We're still getting floating Lyngbya up here. FWC did an experiment out in the bay that created a lot more Lyngbya to float, and it kind of bleached it, and you can see the bleach marks on some of that Lyngbya that shows that came from that FWC experiment. So we've been, trying to rake up and clean up what they left behind for us, because we're determined to get this bay cleaned up. You've got another spring vent down here. You can see some of the oyster shells and movement there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little vents all along here. And then if the camera will follow me around over here to the really big spring vent that we cleaned out, this was another area where you couldn't even see these springs, and look at how crystal clear that water is there. That is so beautiful. You can see the water just pouring out from underneath the little caves and spring vents there. So we had Swiftmud come out here, and they have plotted these springs now on the maps, because they didn't even know that these were here, and no one did, because they were covered up with rocks and Lyngbya and stuff like that. So we've got them reopened up, and they've plotted them, and they're going to be called the One Rake Springs. So this is going to be a pretty interesting thing to find out. We're going to come out later and we're going to measure and see just how much spring flow we have coming out of here. I think this is going to be one of the major spring vents now in Crystal River. So we're working to clean it up. As you can see, we've got an old boat here next to us that's been here for a lot of years. It hasn't been moved. It had been vandalized at one point. We're hoping that sometime the owners of the boat are going to get that out of here, and then we can really open it up. The cameraman get down there. You can see some of the white sand that's starting to materialize. We push the boat to the side. We're trying to clean everything out. Our guys get underneath the docks. We rake, get all of that heavy nutrient load out from underneath docks and boats and stuff, and it's just beginning to transform this bay. You can see the boat ramp there. It's a nice concrete boat ramp. This was an old city boat ramp that used to be the public access for Kings Bay, and then they built the new boat ramp over by Birds Underwater, and they closed this one down. This one totally filled with Lyngbya and muck and everything, so that was just solid dirt in there. We have redug that boat ramp out, and that's our main access point for the cleanup operation. So now this little cove is pretty much our little working cove, and we're going to take you out on the water in a little while and show you the barges. We do the paid hand raking here, and that's what we're going to be showing you today, how the paid hand raking operation works. And we're going to take a little boat ride out on the water, and we're going to see some of the young people that are hand raking the Lyngbya out there, and it's very effective. I didn't realize how effective hand raking could do until you start paying people. We pay them by the cubic foot. So every cubic foot of Lyngbya that they bring to me on a barge, I pay them $2.77. So it's a great incentive for these young people to work hard and clean up the bay, and they can make a decent dollar along the way. So stand by, and we'll be right back, and we'll get you out on the boat. Okay. Welcome back to One Rake at a Time. I'm your host, Art Jones, and we're just getting ready to get on the boat here. Keith has taken us out, and we're going to get out there and watch the guys hand raking the Lyngbya onto barges. And so this is going to be the next stage of the operation. And we'll take a little tour, and we'll show you some of the other spring vents that we've opened up. So you can see we're getting on the barge here, and you're looking down here, you can see there's starting to get some plant life coming back. A little bit of floating Lyngbya in there, but we're going to take you right over to the center of the Lyngbya cleanup. So come on aboard. You can see the guys are very carefully lifting it up from the bottom and getting a big load of Lyngbya and just tossing it up on the big dewatering barge. And you can see how heavy this is. See how high the pontoon boat is behind Josh, and see how this one is starting to go into the water. They just keep loading it until they're going to sink that back end of the boat now and get it right down to the water line. And this is what they do every day, and you can see that these kids are pulling Lyngbya out of where no machine can get. They get in here underneath the dock. They're also picking up wire cages, all sorts of stuff that's been left in the bottom of the bay for years. This is what's all considered the legacy nutrients. You look at that stuff coming up. Look at all the nutrients in there. You wonder why this isn't crystal clear water here anymore. It's because of all this muck on the bottom. Wide range of ages of people helping us with this project. Like I said, they all get paid for production, and they all work around low tide. So they like to get in at low tide and get 3 or 4 barges out in a day. Each barge holds about 4,000 pounds of Lyngbya. It's 2-ton barges when they're sunk. So on average, we're taking out 4, 6, 8, sometimes 10 tons of Lyngbya a day out of this bay on a consistent basis. It's like every day there's a low tide, every day the conditions are right, we're working. So it's been, it's just very methodical. We just keep taking it out, taking it out. Persistence wins the game. And every day you're taking this out, and slowly it just adds up. It's starting to make a real difference in this bay. Mikkel's up on the barge now. He's raking it toward the center there. That helps some of the water drain off. We've got a 8-inch wall around that barge to hold all that Lyngbya on, with a couple of slats in it for the water to drain off. As they rake that into the center, that allows some of the water to drain back, and it allows them to put more Lyngbya on there. So they try to fill that barge up to the absolute maximum. We've got a great team. We've got a total of 9 individuals that are working with this, and then we've got another 2 that help haul it away, and we've got the director of the program, me, that manages the whole operation. So we've got basically a dozen people working on this project every day right now. I would love to see this expanded. That's why we're going to have to start a fundraising campaign and get more money. We're just finishing up a $100,000 grant, and we just finished up the NOAA grant, and now we're running off monies that we've raised through Rotary. And if you had, these guys just going on, but if we had another team and another team, if we had a dozen barges out here, and you had 4 teams with 3 barges each, that would make an amazing difference. And we could handle it to where now we would surpass the production of those machines by hand. And like I say, the beautiful thing, you see these docks, and you know that where most of the legacy nutrients are underneath those docks. So you've either got to do it by hand, or you got to do it with a new device like a diver vacuum or something that you can get by hand and get in there. Because the diver vacuum actually is, you've got divers that get into the water, and with the vacuum devices, and they will suck it out underneath those things. But the problem with that is, where do you capture it all? What do you do with all the discharge? This way, the beauty of it is, you see that we're using 12 or 10-ton pitchforks out there, so we're basically dewatering that Lyngbya as it comes up out of the water column. So you're just pulling up all the hairy Lyngbya coming up, and so it's dewatered already. That's why I love the beauty of the hand raking. We don't have any problem with what to do with that discharge. We just load it on the boat, and then we throw it in a trailer, and it's gone. With a vacuum device, you're going to have to be pumping it into bags. It's got to be on shore. It's got to be in roll-offs. You've got to treat the water going back in. There's a whole host of complicated things you have to deal with when you're dealing with vacuums, which can be solved, but boy, nothing beats the simplicity of hand raking. Originally, we were giving people $1 a cubic foot reward if they brought it to me, and that didn't really work out too well. We had some people bringing me Lingbia, but it's a lot of work. Then we got a grant from NOAA that said we had to pay federal minimum wage, and we figured out federal minimum wage for an average person would be about 4 cubic feet an hour, which would be 11.27 an hour. And so we based that on the $2.77 a cubic foot. And we started out with that NOAA grant to do that. And then we got a Beaches and Mine grant for $100,000. And so we just expanded the program. And I'll tell you, that is, I didn't think it would work as well as it does, but I'm convinced that methodical, persistent, consistent hand raking is really a very good cure for this bay. So each barge load, that's $200 worth of Lingbia on that barge. And the way we measure that is this gets raked into a trailer that is 145 cubic feet. And in that trailer, we fill that trailer halfway full. And so that's about 75 cubic feet in that trailer, which equates to $200 a barge load. And so it's everything is photographed and documented, and we keep track of everything. There's no room for errors or exaggerations. I mean, we just out there taking it out every day. I have people say, "Are you really taking out Lingbia?" Yeah, now you see. Yeah, we're really taking it out. Another barge of Lingbia leaving Kings Bay. Basically, it's composting on the bottom of the bay, creating methane gas. So any kind of plant that tries to put a root in there, that root's going to hit that methane, and that composting is just going to kill it. So anytime you see plants trying to grow on top of some of these benthic mats, you'll see they're diminutive in stature and minuscule amounts of them. And the beauty is that once you get this Lingbia out of the way and you get a nice natural bottom, then all of a sudden the plants show up again. All of a sudden they start growing. What's that? It's a steel pipe that got thrown in the water. A lot of times people just use the water for a garbage can, and we're not only taking out the Lingbia, we're pulling up bottles, pipes, old carpeting. We found tires in here. Found old crab traps are all smashed up. Wire. We found radios in here. We found telephones in here. We found all sorts of things in here. The only thing we haven't found is any gold jewelry yet, but they're still on the lookout. Well, yeah, as we pull these barge loads out and we put them into the dump trailers and we take them to the dump site, that's really just a temporary holding facility where we're composting it there, and then we can pick that up with a front end loader and put it into a dump truck and haul it off to farmland. We have people that come up and pick it up and take it to their farmland. Wow. It's loaded with nitrogen and phosphorus and trace minerals, so it's a great soil supplement as long as it's tilled directly into the soil. And that's really where all of this actually ends up, in farmland somewhere. This is probably the most careful way you can possibly clean the bay too. This isn't a machine that just came along and tried to blindly pick it all up. These kids, if they run into an area with their pitchfork where all of a sudden they pull out a bunch of plants, well, they move away.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They run into some place where there's a big post or a bunch of steel. They all get together. They pull it out, get it out of the way. You can't get any more careful than hand raking. Welcome back to One Rake at a Time. I'm your host, Art Jones, and today we're filming the actual cleanup process. You can see behind me now, some of the workers, some of the guys are unloading the Lingbia now. You see they've got these big manure shovels and he just pulled a bottle out of there. As they unload it, they pull out any bottles, cans, or anything that's not organic, because all this Lingbia is going to go to a big compost pile where we all compost it. So you see, this is the next stage of the operation, and this is a lot of work too. I just wanted to give the audience a quick explanation of what we're looking at here. What we're looking at here is stuff that we've pulled out of Kings Bay. As we're doing this hand raking operation here, this is some of the stuff that we find mixed in with the Lingbia. Old smashed up crab tracks, tires, you can see there's some carpeting in there, a bunch of chunks of wood. So we've been pulling this out. This is 1 month's worth here. And then the city will come over and they help us. They have a claw track, pick it all up and haul this over to the landfill. So that just shows the beauty of hand raking. I never saw a harvest machine take out any of this stuff. I don't think a diver vacuum could take out this stuff either. I mean, there's something that you just cannot replace good, hard manual labor with. So let's walk over and show the audience real quick Yellowbird. Yellowbird is a truck that was donated to us by one of my Rotarians. He owned the truck, he died, and his widow willed the truck, or gave us the truck in his honor. And Yellowbird is just a big big cargo truck. You see it's got a nice solid oak wooden floor, and you can see all our rakes and everything in there. Got all our life jackets. Here's all the big long rakes on that side. We got our pitchforks and everything in there. Normally we carry a lot of kayaks in here. They're not in here today because the kayaks are over at another location that we're working at right now. But the guys use this as a changing room. So when we do the big cleanup, we've got 100 rakes in there. We bring them out, and this truck's been a great help to the whole project. And so that's what we call Yellowbird. Yeah, I'm here with Jake Mutzel, and Jake is our truck driver, aren't you, Jake?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been involved in this project?
A little over 2 years now, I believe. It's been a while.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things Jake does, he photographs each load for us and sends them to us. So every load of Lingbia that gets removed gets photographed.
Yeah, and that gets sent to the grant people, and that's how we get approved for money, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what you think of what's going on here and how we've cleaned up this area?
I think it's nothing but beneficial. I mean, there was 2 or 3 feet of muck out here, and now there's, you can see open springs, I mean, bubbling on high tide to where they were just trickling like little baby rivers on low tide. Now they're just flowing because of the stuff that these guys are taking out of here. It's amazing, and there's a lot more to be taken out.
Yeah, I'm with Michael Nelson right now, and Michael just came out of the water. Can you tell me what you were doing out there?
Cleaning up some Lingbia.
Uh-huh. And how'd it go today?
Went really good. Went to a really good spot. Got a lot of hairy stuff, and you can feel we're starting to get to the bottom, so it's a really good feeling.
Yeah. And you grew up here, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been here for about 6 years, I think.
Uh-huh, but you went to Crystal River High School?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I did.
Graduate of class of 11?
2011, yes, sir.
All right, great. And have you been working here, how has this transformed?
This is really awesome. Like, I've seen, I remember this used to be pretty bad. Like, Lingbia is taking over pretty bad, and what we're doing out here is really great. I mean, it's good for the community, the environment, and stuff like that, so it's a really good thing.
Yeah, I'm here with Josh Chapman. And some of the people in the audience may have recognized him from being on the show earlier, and he just came in off the water. Can you tell us what you were doing out there today?
We was removing Lingbia and debris from in front of the Charlie's crab dock.
Mm-hmm. So have you seen more fish coming back in this area here, Josh, since in the last year, since when we started?
Just walking in, I seen a tarpon raised, and manatees is the main thing. Like that day, we was standing here, and the manatee came right here to the beach. You know, when we first started, there was no way. I mean, it was choked off black stuff up to your chest, and now it's that to me is the biggest sign. You know, that's what Crystal River's all about, manatee capital. So there's no other job in the world where you get paid to do something positive and swim with manatees for free. It's wonderful. It really is.
Yeah, I'm here with Taylor Kaufmel now, and Taylor, tell the audience where you live.
Right there.
And what have you seen since you've been living there?
A lot. It's improved a lot.
Yeah.
I've never seen it this clear. It looks a lot better with us doing this work.
And what have you got coming on your way?
I'm having a son in 5 weeks.
Uh-huh. And what do you hope to see your son can see when he grows up?
Clear water.
Yeah. So now you'll be the parent saying, oh, it used to be
clear.
Used to be clear with my grandfather, then it got bad, and now
we fixed it.
Now you fixed it, exactly. Yeah, this is Jeremy Chenot.
How you doing, Art?
Did I say that name right?
Chenot, yes.
Chenot, okay, thank you. And Jeremy is one of my best workers here. You've been doing this how long?
12 weeks now.
Uh-huh. And what do you think of the whole project?
I love it. I think it's doing a very wonderful job for the Bay.
Yeah.
Noticed a tremendous amount of new wildlife that have come in since the 12 weeks that I've been doing it. You've got the manatees, the porpoises, some fish, some baby alligators come in. It's very wonderful.
Yeah. Jeremy's also got a young daughter.
It's Faye Chenot, she's 5.
Uh-huh.
She loves it out here now. That's nice and clean.
Yeah.
Take her swimming every weekend.
Yep, and Jeremy's been a great help. He's come out and volunteered. He's helped clean out some of these spring vents and,
Yes, sir.
and brush like that, and continues to do that.
Because I want my daughter to have what they had 50 years ago. Nice, clean, white, sandy bay where you just run out to the dock, jump in, and go swimming. Don't have to worry about getting a bunch of seaweed on you, and lingbia on
Yeah.
your feet, and stepping in mud.
Exactly.
That's my goal.
And that's what makes it worthwhile,
Yes,
doesn't it?
yes, sir. Yes,
It's the
sir.
community coming together and cleaning up the bay.
Yes, sir.
A lot of hard work.
Yes, sir. But it's well worth it.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, Art.
Okay. Yeah, Art Jones with One Rake at a Time. Here we are out at the dump site, and Jake is getting ready to dump that load of lingbia you just saw us loading up onto this trailer earlier, which you saw us pulling it out of the bay. And you'll see it coming out now. And so this is where we dump it to be composted. You see the water's coming out, all that looks like black oil. It's just nasty, nutrient-loaded stuff, and I'm getting splattered here. But look at that. The cameraman's going to get splattered. Look at that stuff come out. That's just, look at all that hairy lingbia coming out, all that black lingbia, all that decayed lingbia and stuff coming out. So it's just, you can see why we can't put on in a roll-off right away, because it's soupy. It comes out. And look at that. That stuff was on the bottom of Kings Bay. As this compost, you can see I'm standing on it now. It dries, and we're going to be able to send this over to the Path Center or any other farmland that wants it there. And it's going to make great soil supplement. You can see it's just, even though it's dry, you can see all the hairy fibers in there. That's all that lingbia. It's all that hairiness in there. And cleaning up the bay. So all this stuff is no longer clogging spring vents. You can see all that stuff on top of a spring vent. How could a spring vent possibly be able to come through there? Yeah, Art Jones with One Rake at a Time. You've now seen the entire process from beginning to end, where we're getting the kids going out there on the barges. We see them loading them up. We see them unloading the barges at the work site there. You know, you've seen the spring vents we're cleaning up, and now you've seen the full circle where we're dumping it and gutting it out of Kings Bay, never to return. So this is Art Jones with One Rake at a Time and the Kings Bay Rotary. Thank you again for watching, and this show will be on all month, and stay tuned for next month. We're going to even have a more exciting show for you then. Art Jones with One Rake at a Time. See you next month. Thank you.